everyone, in this video we are going to learn about an international policy that is called the Salamanca Statement. Let's see what is the Salamanca Statement known for. In June 1994, representatives of 92 governments and 25 international organizations formed a World Conference on Special Needs Education, which was held in Salamanca, Spain. It is based on the needs of children with special needs. This conference reaffirmed that education is the right of every individual as per Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948 and renewed the pledge made by the world community at the 1990 World Conference on Education for All, to ensure that right for all regardless of individual differences. Now we look at Framework for Action on Special Needs Education. The conference adopted a new framework for action, the guiding principle of which is that ordinary schools should accommodate all children regardless of their physical, intellectual, social, emotional, linguistic or other conditions. The framework for action says inclusion and participation are essential to human dignity and to the enjoyment and exercise of human rights. In the field of education, this is reflected in bringing about a genuine equalization of opportunity. Let's talk about what they said in Framework for Action. Number 1, framework suggested that every educational policy should include a provision for disabled students to attend neighborhood school. Number 2, in the conference statement, representatives agreed on a new statement on the education for all children and called it inclusive. The next one is the purpose is to implement a framework for action by government, NGO and national agencies on special education. Schools have to ensure all the necessary steps to be taken for children with disabilities and learning difficulties. Proper support should be provided in terms of classroom infrastructure like ramp facilities and lift facilities, furniture, transport, textbook, etc. as per the requirements of children. It mentioned the role of community is also important to support inclusive education. It focuses on teacher training programs. Research and development in the field of infrastructure, assistive aids, transport, etc. to enhance inclusive education. A healthy partnership should be maintained between school administration and parents are active partners in decision making. They should be encouraged to participate in schools as well as home activities. Proper legislature should be there to protect the rights of every child, individual at each their life. The World Conference called several groups to support inclusive school, and these groups are government, international community and UNESCO. It aims to focus on educating all children in the mainstream education system. The Salamanca Statement called for a policy shift which would require all schools in the regular school system to become inclusive schools, especially for children, those with special educational needs. The Salamanca Statement believed that, every child has a fundamental right to education and must be given the opportunity to achieve and maintain an acceptable level of learning. And every child has unique characteristics, interests, abilities and learning needs. Salamanca Statement believed that education services should consider these diverse characteristics and needs. Those with special educational needs must have access to regular schools. Moreover, regular schools with an inclusive ethos are the most effective way to combat discriminatory attitudes, create welcoming and inclusive communities, and achieve education for all. Such schools provide effective education to the majority of children, improve efficiency and cost effectiveness. Moving further with the role of government in education. So let's see. First one is to give the highest priority to making education system inclusive, to adopt the principle of inclusive education as a matter of law or policy. Next is to develop demonstration projects. And next one is to plan, monitor and evaluate educational provisions for children and adults. To encourage and make easy the participation of parents and organizations of disabled people. To invest in early identification and intervention strategies. To invest in the vocational aspects of inclusive education. Make sure there are adequate teacher education programs. Next point is role of international communities. International organizations like UNESCO, UNICEF and World Bank endorsed the approach of inclusive schooling and to support inclusive education in schools. Next point is role of UNESCO. Number 1, inclusive education should be discussed in every education policy of the nation. Number 2, enhance education of teachers also in this field. Number 3, stimulate the research for inclusive education. Article 2 affirms the right to education of all children with their diverse characteristics and abilities and demands that education systems and programs be designed to consider this wide diversity. Regular schools must provide an appropriate child-centered teaching and learning environment that can accommodate these special educational needs. The article concludes with the statement that regular schools with this inclusive orientation are the most effective means of combating discriminatory attitudes. Create welcoming communities, building an inclusive society, and achieving education for all. Moreover, they provide an effective education to the majority of children and improve the efficiency and ultimately the cost effectiveness of the entire education system. We can conclude that the statement called on governments to take policy, legislative and implementation measures to transform national education and develop a system of inclusive schools. Clear guidelines are provided for action needed to ensure changes at the level of school management, appropriate training of personnel, curriculum flexibility, and the development of support services. In addition, the partnership with parents and the role of the community are emphasized. The framework for action outlines new thinking on special needs education and guidelines for action at national, regional and international levels. So in this way, today we have seen Salamanca Statement. Thank you for listening.